As I sat on the bench that morning in my courtroom, the familiar hum of proceedings filled the air, the shuffle of papers, the murmur of attorneys, the occasional cough from the gallery. It was just another day in Providence Municipal Court, where I, Judge Frank Caprio, have presided over countless cases of traffic violations, packing tickets, and minor offenses. Little did I know that this ordinary session would unearth a ghost from my past, one that would make my blood run cold. The defendant stepped forward, a woman in her late 50s, her face etched with lines of hardship, her eyes sharp and unyielding. She looked at me, and before the clerk could even read the charges, she spoke words that pierced the room like a dagger. "Don't you remember me, Judge?" My face went pale. The color drained as memories flooded back. Unbidden and unforgiving, let me take you back to where it all began, because to understand that moment, you need to know the full story. It was 1972, and I was a young lawyer fresh out of Suffolk University Law School, eager to make my mark in Providence. The city was different then, grittier, with neighborhoods divided by invisible lines of class and ethnicity. I had taken on pro bono cases to build my reputation, representing those who couldn't afford high-powered attorneys. One such case involved a family on the edge of desperation, the Morettis. Maria Moretti, a single mother of 3, had been evicted from her apartment after her husband abandoned them, leaving behind a mountain of unpaid rent and utility bills. She was accused of petty theft, stealing groceries to feed her kids, and faced jail time that would shatter her family. I remember meeting Maria in a dingy community center, her children clinging to her skirts. The oldest, a boy named Tony, about 10, had eyes that burned with resentment toward the world. The middle child, a girl called Sophia, was quiet, her gaze fixed on the floor. And the youngest, little Elena, barely 5, with curls that framed a face full of innocence. Maria was fierce, a woman who had immigrated from Italy with dreams of a better life, only to find betrayal and poverty. "I didn't steal," she insisted, her accent thick. "I borrowed, intending to pay back when my check comes." But the evidence was stacked against her. Security footage from the store, witnesses. It was a slam dunk for the prosecution, but I saw something in her, a fighter, not a criminal. I dove into the case with everything I had. Late nights poring over precedents, interviewing neighbors who could vouch for her character, even tracking down her ex-husband's whereabouts to prove he owed child support. We went to trial, and I argued passionately that this was a crime of necessity, not malice. The judge, an old-school type named Harlan, wasn't swayed at first, but I painted a picture, a mother choosing between her children's hunger and her own integrity. In the end, we won a suspended sentence, community service instead of jail. Maria hugged me outside the courtroom, tears streaming. "You saved us, Frank," she said. "I'll never forget this." Tony shook my hand solemnly. Sophia gave me a shy smile, and Elena drew me a picture of a house with a happy family inside. I kept that drawing in my desk for years as a reminder of why I became a lawyer. Life moved on. I built my practice, got married to my wonderful wife Joyce, started a family of our own. The Morettis faded into the background, just one of many families I'd helped. But Providence is a small city. Paths cross in unexpected ways. Fast forward to 1985. I was now a city councilman, dabbling in politics while still practicing law. One evening, I got a call from the police about a disturbance in Federal Hill, the Italian neighborhood. A young man had been arrested for assault during a bar fight. His name, Tony Moretti. Maria's son, now in his 20s, had grown into a troubled adult tattoo snaking up his arms. A rap sheet starting to build. I visited him in lockup, not as his lair, but as someone who remembered the boy. "Tony, what happened?" I asked. He looked at me with those same burning eyes. "Life happened, Mr. Caprio. Dad never came back. Mom worked 3 jobs, and I fell in with the wrong crowd. The fight was over money owed from a gambling debt. Tony had punched a guy who threatened him. I pulled strings, not illegally, mind you, but using my connections to get him into a diversion program. Counseling, job training. He thanked me, promised to turn it around. Maria called me later, her voice breaking. "You're an angel, Frank. Without you, he'd be lost. But promises are fragile." By 1990, Tony was back in trouble, deeper this time. drug possession, intent to distribute. The war on drugs was raging and sentences were harsh. Maria begged me to represent him. I was hesitant. I had my own career to think about, now aiming for a judgeship. But how could I say no? The trial was grueling. Evidence showed Tony involved with a small-time operation, peddling to make ends meet after losing his job. I argued for rehabilitation over incarceration, highlighting his rough upbringing, the absence of a father figure. The jury bought it partially. We got probation with mandatory rehab. Tony hugged his mother in court, vowing change. Sophia, now a teenager, watched from the gallery, her quiet demeanor hiding what I later learned was budding resentment. Elena, the youngest, was absent off at college on a scholarship, the family's bright spot, years blurred. I became Judge Caprio in 1995, appointed to the municipal court. My courtroom became known for compassion fines reduced for the struggling, second chances for the remorseful. I'd see echoes of the Morettis in many defendants, families torn by circumstance, individuals fighting invisible battles. But I never heard from them again until that fateful day in court, back to the present, or rather, that morning. The woman standing before me was Sophia Moretti. I hadn't recognized her at first. Time had weathered her features, added gray to her hair. But those eyes, quiet, intense, were unmistakable. The charges: failure to appear on multiple traffic tickets, accumulating to a warrant. Standard stuff. But her words, "Don't you remember me, Judge?" The courtroom fell silent. My clerk paused, the bailiff shifted. I felt a chill, as if the past had stepped into the room. "Sophia?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, a faint smile tinged with bitterness. "Yes, Judge Caprio. Sophia Moretti. You saved my mother once, my brother twice, but you couldn't save us all." I adjourned the court for a recess, something I rarely do. In my chambers, Sophia sat across from me, and the story poured out a tale of quiet devastation that made my heart ache. After Tony's second brush with the law, he did try to go straight. Got a job as a mechanic, married, had a kid, but the streets pulled him back. In 2005, during a botched deal, Tony was shot and killed. Maria never recovered. She spiraled into depression, passing away from heart failure 2 years later. Elena, the youngest, succeeded, became a teacher, moved to Boston, distanced herself from the pain. Sophia, she bore the brunt. As the middle child, she cared for her mother, buried her brother, supported the family financially with waitressing jobs. "I was the invisible one," she said. "You helped Mom and Tony, but I was always in the shadows. After they died, I fell apart. Drank too much, drove when I shouldn't. These tickets? They're from nights I was trying to forget." I listened, the weight of her words pressing down. Had I failed her? In focusing on the crises, did I overlook the quiet sufferers? "Why didn't you reach out?" I asked. She shrugged. "Pride? And you were the big judge by then. What could you do?" We talked for an hour. She shared memories, the drawing Elena made for me, which I'd long lost. Tony's laugh. Maria's homemade pasta. I shared my own regrets, cases I wished I'd handled differently, lives I couldn't mend. By the end, tears welled in both our eyes. Back in court, I dismissed the charges with a warning ordering community service at a local shelter. "Sophia," I said publicly, "life has thrown you curves, but you're stronger than you know. Let's make this a turning point." The gallery applauded softly. As she left, she turned. "Thank you, Judge, for remembering now." That case stayed with me. It reminded me why I do this job, not for the power, but for the people. Every defendant has a story, layers beneath the charges. Sophia's words echoed. "Don't you remember me?" It's a question we all should ask ourselves about those we've crossed paths with. Have we forgotten? Or can we still make amends? But the story doesn't end there. Weeks later, I received a letter from Elena. She'd heard about the court appearance from Sophia. "Judge Caprio," it read, "you were a beacon in our darkness. Thank you for helping my sister when she needed it most." Enclosed was a photo of the Moretti family from better days, and a new drawing from Elena's own child, a house with a happy family. Just like the one from years ago, I've kept that photo on my desk ever since. It serves as a powerful reminder that justice isn't just about the law. It's about humanity, connection, and second chances. In my courtroom, I've always strived to see the person behind the case, to listen, to understand. Sophia's reappearance was a wake-up call, a powerful testament to the ripples our actions create. Over the years, I've handled thousands of cases, each with its own drama. There was the young man who reminded me of Tony, caught in a cycle of bad choices, but with potential shining through. I gave him probation and mentorship, and today he's a successful entrepreneur. Then the single mother like Maria, overwhelmed by bills. I reduced her fine and connected her with resources. Each time I think of the Morettis, of how one act of kindness can alter a trajectory, yet power comes with responsibility. As a judge, I've faced criticism. Some say I'm too lenient, but I believe in rehabilitation over punishment. Statistics back it. Recidivism drops when people feel heard. In Providence, our court's approach has lowered repeat offenses by 20%. It's not about being soft. It's about being smart. Serious about fixing societal ills. Sophia's story also highlighted the systemic issues: poverty, mental health, family breakdown. We need more than courts. We need support systems. That's why I've advocated for community programs, partnering with local nonprofits. One initiative, inspired by the Morettis, helps families of the incarcerated counseling, job placement, education, reflecting deeper. My own life parallels theirs in ways. I grew up in a working-class Italian family, my father a milkman, mother a homemaker. We faced hardships, money tight, opportunities scarce. Law school was a grind, funded by scholarships and part-time jobs. Those experiences shaped my empathy. When I see a defendant struggling, I see my younger self or my neighbors. Joyce, my wife of over 50 years, has been my anchor. She reminds me to balance compassion with justice. Our 5 children, now adults, carry that legacy, some in law, others in public service. Family is everything. It's what the Morettis lost, piece by piece. As I approach retirement, I ponder the legacy. Will I be remembered as the compassionate judge from those viral videos? Or as the man who tried to make a difference, one case at a time? Sophia's pail-making moment was a pivot, reinforcing my resolve. Let me share another layer. After Sophia's case, I reached out to her periodically. She got sober, found steady work as a counselor, helping others like her. Last year, she visited my courtroom, not as a defendant, but as a guest. We shared coffee, laughed about old times. "You did remember me," she said. Eventually. That's the power of human connection. It endures even when buried. In a world of division, stories like this bridge gaps. They remind us we're all intertwined, our past shaping our presence. To delve deeper, consider the broader implications. Courtrooms aren't just for judgment. They're arenas for redemption. Studies from the National Center for State Courts show that empathetic judging leads to better outcomes. In my tenure, I've dismissed or reduced fines for over 10,000 people based on hardship, always with conditions to encourage growth. Critics argue this undermines the law. But law without mercy is tyranny. I've sentenced when necessary dangerous drivers. Repeat offenders get no leniency. Balance is key. Sophia's story also touches on forgiveness. She forgave me for forgetting, and I forgave myself for not seeing sooner. It's a lesson for all. Hold space for others' pain. As the sun sets on my career, I feel gratitude. For the Morettis, for every soul who's crossed my bench. They've taught me more than any law book. If there's a moral, it's this. Remember. Remember the faces, the stories, the humanity. Because one day someone might say, "Don't you remember me?" And your answer could change everything.